From the very beginning, mankind has been fascinated with the world of the occult, the unseen. From the first cave paintings to the Bible, magic can be found everywhere, from secret stories to Victorian occult spiritualists. From influential masters of the black arts to Disney films, magic holds a spell over us. But what is magic? Magic is not the trickery of a conjurer. True magic is much more. True magic is the focus on the mystical world, the non-material world, the strange and wonderful. True magic will make you question reality itself. In fact, it will show you reality and help you understand that you have been living in a false world all along. If you seek answers to the big questions of conscious existence, then you need to enter the realm of real magic. If you wish to understand the mysteries of the universe, then you need magic. The magician known to the world as Aleister Crowley was adept at yoga. He taught it and was often accused of being a demon for doing so. What was it about yoga that so attracted and enthused followers of Crowley? It was very simple, and we shall explain more. But the fact is that the practice of yoga enables the adherent to enter a state of oneness with all things, to alter brain frequencies, allowing the connection to the universe at a level once called spiritual. The emotions released whilst practicing yoga are profound because they are at one with all. They release in us the power or force of true magic. It was what mystic Eliphaz Levi called as above, so below. Whatever is out there is also within. All are connected. And these mystics intuitively knew what it would take scientists decades to discover. Through real magical practices, magicians discovered truth at a higher level. The same magical practices have been around for thousands of years. The 6th and 7th books of Moses reveal spiritual techniques that would be outlawed by the church, and yet also practiced in secret by the same. What is the truth behind all of these spiritual practices that allowed the mind to free itself from the constraints of a material controlling society? Magic is the belief that the material universe is only a very minor part of all reality, and that in fact it includes many other planes of existence and even consciousness. In the same way, we possess consciousness and unconsciousness, both of which have their own concepts in reality. So too the universe mirrors this and more. Also, in the same way that we cannot access the unconscious realm of our own mind, we simply cannot access the other realities of the universe, unless, of course, there is a way. And that is the realm of magic, being able to find ways of accessing other realities and affect our own. One of the other realms or realities of magic is known as the astral light, and believers of this reality say that the cosmic fluid of the astral light can form or mold physical forms. The force that can do this is said to be human thought. human willpower. The human being existing in the microcosm can, once it understands, affect the microcosm. The small can affect the large. We can set in motion an action in our level of reality and cause an effect in the greater reality. All of this can sound quite party in the mind that is not used to such concepts, and like the hand of a clock, we need to adjust our position a moment at the time in order to understand that time and things change. Understanding this magical ability of the human being takes some effort, and indeed it has taken men's lifetimes to come to terms with. In essence, man discovers that he is in fact God in almost every sense of the word. To the growing elite and occult brotherhoods, magic is truly powerful. One famous 19th and early 20th century occultist was Dr. Gerard Encausse, otherwise known as Pappus. He founded the modern group known as the Martinists, based upon an 18th century Martinist order, a kind of New Age Christian sect. He claimed the magic was really scientific, carrying out experiments on powers and energies that were little understood at the time. He stated that magic was dangerous and that three main principles were required in its operation, namely the willpower of the individual, the actual material basis, or the tool and the actual force upon which the mind or will operates and affects a change in the material. This was a period seeing the rise in scientific thought overpowering the religious or spiritual, and the Martinists and others such as the Rosicrucians saw a middle ground. This force which science would discover was known to the Jews as the odd, the astral light to others, and the magnetic fluid to yet more. It was a natural composite agent, a fluid force that Eliphas Levi said would receive the vibrations of the will via meditation. It was a force acted upon by the frequency of thought. Levi stated that it was a force that illuminates the mind, vivifies and destroys, separates and coagulates, all depending upon the will of the individual. According to 17th century writer J.B. van Helmont, in his Oris Medicine, it has a magical force, sent asleep by sin, is latent in man. It can be awakened by God or by the art of the Kabbalah. And what is this force? As Eliphas Levi again tells us in his History of Magic, it has been said that this agent is a light of life by which animated beings are rendered magnetic, electricity being only a transient perturbation. The practice of that marvelous Kabbalah reposes entirely in the knowledge and the use of this agent. Practical magic alone opens the secret temple of nature to that power of the human will which is ever limited but ever progressive. And yet the world of his invasive dark magic was putting a strain on the upright Christian ethics prevalent in the West, and many openly fought its influence. In the Black Mass from 1924, we find the following statement. Today, when our society is invaded by the eroticism of the Middle Ages sorcery, the words Black Mass have lost their primitive meaning. The mystic element weakening, sadism and sensualism alone remained, degenerating these last 2 years into vulgar orgy, so-called revival of pagan ceremonies, accompanied by lewd scenes, excited by the rhythm of libidinous poetry and the intoxication of oriental perfumes. In short, we are told that the frenzies of the sexual rites associated with the rising of these so-called powerful occult forces was vulgar to the Christian West. In the Morning Post of January 16, 1931, there was an interview with a certain Harry Price, the founder and director of the National Laboratory for Physical Research, stated, Mr. Price spoke from close personal experience of the practices which he described, and among a number of their striking allegations, he asserted that black magic, sorcery, and witchcraft are practiced in London of today on a scale and with a freedom undreamed of in the Middle Ages. Professors and leaders of the cults, for the most part foreigners, make use of the same formula and incantations as the medieval necromancers. The cults are increasing and attracting interest at such a pace that they will soon assume such dimensions as to become a genuine menace to the morals and sanity of the nation. I can safely say that there are more devotees of the black arts in London today than ever there were in the Middle Ages. We are told that literary groups, such as those of the Bloomsbury Set or Black Mass, were full of adherents to the occult. They were also joined by people such as Conan Doyle, Ian Fleming, Bram Stoker, and H.G. Wells. Harry Price also informed the Morning Post that the universities of Oxford and Cambridge and much of scholarly London were infested with the black arts, creating a kind of mass hypnotism. Emerging from these groups, we find such people as the master magician himself, Aleister Crowley, creating his own occult groups and influencing a great many writers thereafter. Here we see Harry Price pointing out that many of those influencing the minds of British citizens were in fact foreigners, and thus we have the spiritual invasion spoken of by Bram Stoker in Dracula. Then we have the birth of subsequent revolutions such as the 60s and 70s hippie drug revolutions. For instance, Crowley is to be found on the cover of the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's album. We are shown that sexual license and drug-induced frenzies are supposedly leading these people on the downward path to the world of Satan. There is nothing new in any of this, for it has been repeating for millennia. Freemasonry itself, amongst many others, claims descent ultimately from Egypt, where drugs were heavily influential in the spiritual and magical life. Initiates were and still are in some cults subjected to horrifying trials of darkness, fire, water, and long fasts leading to visions. Should they survive sane, then they were accepted into the fold. Hallucination was one of the prime methods in Egyptian theurgy, using opium, datura, henbane, hashish, cinnamon, and laurel, creating vapors, which brought on the frenzy of the prophet. But we also see that we have here two distinct opposites and very little balance. On the one side, we have thoughtful, intelligent people discovering freedom from a Victorian and religious yoke, like children showing off in front of their friends. On the other side, we have the parents, the Christian old school, who are shocked at their youngsters' actions and can accept nothing good in what they see. Now, as we stand in the 21st century looking back at these birth pangs of a free society, well, spirituality is the individual's choice and theirs alone. But from a historical perspective, these opposites serve nobody too well, except in raising temperatures. Drug-induced sexual frenzies may well be going over the top and are simply leading the individuals toward a biochemical and electromagnetic reaction within the mind, heightening many things. But it may indeed also be raising frequencies to levels that do allow a certain lucidity in the mind, creating a free flow of thought. Science should be applied to the altered states of mind experienced by millions of people, and it is. But this same science also tells us that walking on water is quite impossible. Conjuring tricks abound. It is time to possibly bring all these elements together, to think once again about God, altered states of our own mind and nature itself. To do what our wise men have done in the past and consider possibilities in as balanced a way as we can. There do still remain fundamental questions, even for those who have led themselves into a world of delusion and illusion. These questions are as old as man himself, and we may or may not be closer to finding answers. What is the meaning of existence? Is there a God, a grand architect? Is there a truth searched for by countless generations and lost in the mists of time? The drive to find the answer to the ultimate question is not over, but today we have a new science, a new terminology to explain and expound upon the biggest of truths. The answer may not be what we expect. They may not be the gods we have been led to believe in, but they may very well answer some of the most profound questions man has ever asked. The truth of our very existence, the truth about our inner self, and the answers to the ultimate question, does God exist, may be soon revealed. John Steinbeck said in the log from the Sea of Cortez, "Man is related inextricably to all reality, known and unknowable, plankton and shimmering phosphorescence on the sea, and the spinning planets and an expanding universe, all bound together by the elastic string of time. It is advisable to look from the tide pool to the stars, and then back to the tide pool again." The universe is an awe-inspiring place, a macrocosmic tidal pool filled with galaxies and yet also quite empty to our perceptions. Around 10 to 15 billion years ago, existence began and time erupted into a void of nothingness with the comically named Big Bang. The term was in fact given by Fred Hoyle, the infamous astronomer who paradoxically believed in a totally different concept he called the steady-state theory, whereby the universe gradually emerges rather than in one incredible explosion. Today, scientists have all but proven the Big Bang Theory with measurements of red and blue shift, the coming towards and going away noise seen in the red and blue extremes of the light spectrum. In addition to this, at the end of the last century, scientists discovered background radiation signatures from the very first cosmic moments of the Big Bang. In these early moments of a new existence, the mathematical equations of all things were being worked out from the initial chaos. Mathematical laws underpin the fabric of the universe, not just atoms, but people, stars, and galaxies. Modern mathematicians are in fact proving theories espoused by our Gnostic and esoteric ancestors, that we are related via geometry to the very universe, that we cannot be separated from it. For we are part of it, alive and conscious of ourselves. Inside every atom there are beautiful mathematical forces binding them together, and these bind everything else: our skin, the land, the planets, and gravity itself. But there is so much energy and information locked away in the atom that it can heal and destroy. And this has always been the warning of magic, that to play with it can bring amazing benefits, but it can also be very dangerous. Be careful what you play with. Inside every atom there is also a huge space, an empty void, little understood by science. And not surprisingly, the same thing occurs in the vastness of space. We term this void dark matter because we do not understand it. It is like the mind. What we see is consciousness, the part of our mind we are aware of. And yet also within our mind is dark matter we call the unconscious world. We are only aware of this world in our dreams or our conscious lucid dreaming. We need to place different filters on the lenses of our telescopes to realize that there is much more to the universe than we can see with our eyes. In fact, we have found a great many ways of altering our perception of it, just as we have discovered many ways of altering our state of consciousness to peer into the dark matter of the mind. The average concentration of atoms in the universe is 0.2 atoms per cubic meter. This is what we see, 4% of what is actually in existence. In fact, most of the material in the universe emits no light, no infrared heat, no radio waves, or any other kind of radiation, so it is consequently almost impossible to detect. We have to dream of its existence. We have to infer its properties from what we know. How true this is of our own unconscious self, and if consciousness is but 4% of our mind, that we can see then how much more there is to know. Scientists have found almost weightlessness and electrical neutral particles called neutrinos. These are exotic particles that go right through the Earth itself. In truth, they are like the numerous firings in our brains, the thought particles. But incredibly, just as the neutrino is electrically neutral, we too have to be in a neutral state to understand and access our unconscious world. We have to be neither awake nor asleep. This is exactly what the great magicians of the past told us. If a correlation were drawn between ourselves and the greater universe, then the galaxies of light would be the conscious world and dark matter would be the unconscious. We are in a remarkable likeness to the universe, to what some would call God. Clement of Alexandria said, "For the image of God is his word, the genuine Son of mind, the divine word, the archetypal light of light. The image of the world is the true man." This word is a vibration from the very heart of the creation, from the heart of dark matter. It is a mathematical equation fostering life, light, and mind as it surges through our veins even now. And when it becomes conscious, as in the case of human beings, and recognizes itself as such, something very special happens. And we shall see. The form of the crystal is configured just like the universe, and indeed our own mind, and is also mainly empty space. It is in this space that scientists store and harness vast amounts of information in the dark matter of the crystal. St. Augustine said, "The universe was brought into being in a less than fully formed state, but was gifted to transform itself from unformed matter into a truly marvelous array of structure and life forms." This gifting spoken of by St. Augustine 1600 years ago is now known by scientists as a mathematical equation. But this does not reveal a purpose, a why. Instead, it only reveals how it was formed. The answer to why may well be found within the mind of what we can only call God. A series of special numbers now exist which explain how all things work, from the atom to the largest sun. Gravity, electromagnetism, time, light, and all manner of phenomena emerged with interlinked and intertwined mathematical strands that unite all things to each other. What was created was a wonderful crystal-like structure often termed the matrix. Max Planck said, "We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter." We as humans are poised at the very center of this incredible force. It would take as many humans to make up the mass of our sun as there are atoms within each one of us. The sun is 1 billion meters in diameter, and a molecule is 1 billionth of a meter. We are perfectly situated in between. This is perfectionism in a mathematically balanced nature, and yet we are unaware of our special position. Our size and our position in the solar system is crucial for life to exist as it does. It is the nature of number that allows this wonder. An equation first formed in the digital moments and, according to Max Planck, mind of the Big Bang. Molecules, living cells, and minerals are all formed by atoms combining together in special mixes to create different substances. All are atoms, all are particles. All have subnuclear particles, and the galaxies themselves are held in position by these nuclear particles, and of course those mathematical ratios. What scientists do not yet know is the ultimate question for them. What is the synthesis between the cosmos and the quantum world? What is the thread that links the quantum to the cosmos? To true magicians, that binding gel is thought. It is because of division in language and perception that this answer cannot be found. But we will discover this secret wave-like thread and find that if we pull upon it, we shall unravel the mysteries of the universe. Truth can be found in the humble crystal. The word crystal is derived over time from several languages, including Greek and Latin, and means variously ice or hard, solid surface. The word itself does not sum up the beautiful nature of the structure of crystal, nor the vast untapped depths of its inner spaces, the void within. And yet, within the mathematical equations and the wonder of the crystalline form can be found great depth. The universe is often said to be of crystalline form, a series of strings and lattices, a matrix of creation or platonic forms built one upon the other. From the very particle in the atom to the solar systems within the galaxies, from the vast universe and down the formations of galaxies and even further into every DNA, the forms and structures of the crystal can be found. When water turns to ice, we see beautiful crystal forms appear, snowflakes and ice crystals. Humans themselves are composed of mainly water, and so we are fluid crystal forms ourselves. Even our society forms in crystalline shapes as we merge together as if drops within the ocean of humanity. But we are also whole people within a greater whole self. The wise ones, wizards or magicians, understood these ratios at a higher and intuitive level. Understanding something often allows one to manipulate it. Water is a fluid substance, a cleansing substance. It has been seen across time as a sacred domain, a world linked inextricably to the unconscious self. It mirrors the vibrations of the world and even the solar and lunar system around it. The molecular structure of water is even actually affected by crystals. The sea itself moves in wave-like forms in accordance with the gravitational push and pull of the moon. It is part of a greater whole pulled by the wave-like force of gravity. If the seas and oceans are affected in this way, then we too are part of the greater whole, and we too are affected by the same influences. These influences come in the forms of waves, whether gravity, energy, or light, whether from the universe, our earth, or even crystals. To be alive, water needs vibration, a waveform. All life needs a waveform, the energy spark created at the very beginning. Existence is in fact vibration, like a word spoken and given life. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Genesis. Dr. Masaru Emoto is now infamous for having taken a range of remarkable photographs of water crystals forming and showing how human emotions actually affect the beauty of the formation. The question is, how is this possible? Emoto puts this down to the waveform. Vibration form our own thoughts. This is real magic, mind over matter. The whole universe is like this, in a state of vibration. Whether a piece of wood or a tectonic plate, all things vibrate. And crystals too sing to the harmony of vibration. Quartz crystal begins its life deep within the earth from hot vapor, which is a supersaturated solution of silicon dioxide. As it cools, a unit cell of quartz forms around a nucleating site in the same way that an oyster forms. It is a matrix created around a seed point. The forming atoms and bonding are laid down where there is most energy. The molecules adhering to the base silicon matrix. Made up as a tetrahedron-shaped molecule, it is now composed of 4 atoms of oxygen and 1 silicon atom suspended within. This primary cell unit now attracts other silicon dioxide molecules, and over time, trillions of these cells link together in a spiraling motion, layer upon layer, until the crystal is made. The crystal is a known quantum converter that is able to transmit energy in a magnified state, and this energy can easily be absorbed or received by biological matter, such as the human body. The crystal is formed via a wave-like spiraling motion and is a known quantum converter transmitting energy formation at a magnified rate. Stimulating a crystal makes it vibrate or sing. These vibrations make waves, which human receptors pick up and convert back to binary information. This means that vibratory information or energy or different frequencies can be stored inside the empty space-like memory. This is no different to what we shall see with dark matter, the space within the atom, and of course the unconscious world of the mind. This is also why scientists today use crystal within the heart of computers. These crystals do much more, though. They also amplify the energy like timples magnifying sound. Dark matter in our universe does exactly the same thing. We can see distant galaxies because dark matter magnifies their existence, bringing the light into our consciousness. In sleep, the dark matter of our mind or our unconscious world mirrors this process and highlights to us issues about our own self that our conscious world needs to work upon. And via quantum entanglement, we may in fact unconsciously know the secrets of the universe. Accessing this information is true magic. Crystals and their prism structures can be found at every level of existence, from the S-matrix of the subatomic domain to the nature of molecules, from crystal-like gravity fields and even magnetism. A crystal structure is all-permeating. By moving crystals, applying pressure or other stimuli, such as touch, they can be forced to offer up their inheld information energy, such as that of the holographic universe or matrix to which all things are connected, including the wave particles within the crystal. The same is true also of our unconscious world, which reacts according to psychological stimuli. Is this also true of the dark matter of the universe itself? Can we stimulate the mind of the universe to offer up its innermost secrets? Our magicians of the past say that this is exactly what they did. Within the crystal structure, whether quartz, magnetite, the brain, or the universe as a whole, there is a marvelous truth embedded and awaiting release. Our ancestors built around the globe a huge array of sacred temples and monuments. Many of these encompass the archetypal form seen in nature. Others mirror the patterns and movements of the planets. Others still are the great axis mundi, the gateway to heaven or illumination. However, in a lot of these locations, we also find the use of granite, which is mostly quartz crystal. The King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid, for instance, is encased in granite, and Jacob's ladder to the 7 levels of heaven is only envisaged once Jacob laid his head upon a granite stone slab. This is the human mind using the magnification properties of crystal to peer into heaven. For centuries, if not thousands of years, people have recognized something special in crystals. They have been used for physical and spiritual healing, and people feel a close affinity to them and are drawn to them for some particular and untold reason. They resonate or vibrate at specific frequencies, which, if we are able, we would hear as beautiful harmonic music. This is the music of the universe. Quartz crystal resonates at a frequency that is perfectly in tune with the frequency of the human mind when about to enter an altered state of consciousness. It is on the point of sleep before we enter our unconscious world. That is the very substance found beneath Jacob's head, and encasing the King's Chamber actually resonates at that specific special frequency utilized by shaman and magicians throughout time to connect with what they call the gods. The world of the unconscious is the world not closed to the nature of the cosmos as our conscious mind often is. The unconscious world is free to think, not cluttered by the world we have created. But there is more to the tale, for along with every wave or resonance, there is a particle. The wave and the particle are not divided. Only we do this. They are instead the wave-particle united as one. But what is a particle? It is the messenger carried along the energy wave. Light particles travel to our eye along light waves, and in the same way, thought particles travel along thought waves within our mind. This is the world of quantum physics, the world of the subatomic. Everything is made of atoms, and within every atom are particles, messengers carrying information via resonance. It is like a mini world of mandalas. Mandalas are our image of the structure of all and oneness. They are visualized crystals, building one layer upon another into a beautiful shape. A mandala is a drawing or structure used by adepts in the East to visualize existence itself, and in so doing, they are visualizing something that cannot be seen by the human eye. Instead, they are utilizing the third eye, the intuitive state which works best when the mind resonates at the same frequency as crystal quartz, and indeed the earth itself. This is the point of connection between man and nature, a true state of knowing, and this is the point of contact magicians have come to in their own way. Via a new science known as quantum entanglement, scientists have proven that particles of thought can indeed entangle with another person's thought particles. This was much more effective when two participating individuals were emotionally attached, and less effective when they did not know each other. This is a kind of extrasensory perception, and it is a natural state that we have forgotten how to use or hear, at least forgotten in our conscious realm. It is a science for the mysticism of the magician. The world is full of too many perception-grabbing things, clutter for the conscious mind, that we no longer even realize that there is indeed more depth to our state of being. By following what our alchemical and Gnostic friends of the past told us, we can reduce this clutter and burn it off, thus revealing a world below that has long since been forgotten. This is real magic. Scientists at the Stanford University of Education said, a pair of quantum systems in an entangled state can be used as a quantum information channel to perform computational and cryptographic tasks that are impossible for classical systems. It is a method of information exchange that is non-classical, that is, not as we generally understand. The question now, if we can entangle with the particles of thought of another person, then can we entangle with the particles within the great crystal universe itself? Can we begin to understand the secrets of existence? The pineal organ is one of the outgrowths of the pineal apparatus. In aquatic and gill-breathing creatures, it can form a photosensitive eye-like structure which is involved in the diurnal rhythm of color change. In ancient reptiles, it formed a separate or third eye on top of the head. It persists in higher vertebrates and may function as an endocrine gland, internally secreting into the blood and affecting distant parts of the body. The pineal gland exerts some chemical reactions which are not fully understood. Autopsies on mediums and spiritually inclined people have revealed larger pineal glands that contain a clear fluid called serotonin, which in turn makes melatonin. Serotonin, when depleted by amphetamines, causes mild psychedelic effects. Strangely, it is also thought to influence our rhythms of activity. The pineal gland is associated with color recognition, and reptiles can change the color of this third eye. It is also associated with measuring the length of the day and keeping track of the seasons. It is sensitive to the rhythms and cycles of nature and is responsible for transferring that information to us. It is the connection point to nature itself, talking to us and passing on information. Many animals have a variety of senses which we are yet to understand, such as the ability to emit small electrical discharges, underwater vibrations, infrasound, and ultrasound. Some birds can detect polarized light, which helps them to see the fingerprint of their prey as it leaves a pattern across the ground. Snakes can see and produce images in infrared radiation. Can man use more senses than we know? Should we believe that the dowser's skill is simply that they are more accurately in touch with their senses? The term to be mesmerized comes from the Austrian physician Franz Anton Mesmer. who believed the human nervous system to be magnetized. He coined the phrase animal magnetism and claimed that magnetism from the planets had actually caused healing at one church in Austria. He developed a therapeutic regime which incorporated iron magnets, magnetite, and the laying on of hands. Mesmer built up a large following, many of whom claimed to have been healed by his animal magnetism. The modern-day term for mesmerism is hypnotism, and it is at this point, the hypnotic state, that our mind resonates at that special quartz frequency. Researchers have found that magnetite actually clusters around the pineal gland within our brain, and magnetite itself is a wonderful crystal linking our intuitive natural state with the natural world around us. Our consciousness has divided us from the true abilities of our own mind. We now need watches, compasses, calendars, and other physical devices to know what we actually already know unconsciously. So, through the electromagnetic connection within our mind, via the magnetite and the pineal system, we can actually intuitively understand directional information. We can know where we are and which way we need to go because of the wave carrier of electromagnetism carries the information messengers of particles. But our ancestors also told us that we can understand much more, that we can be one with the Word, with God. If we therefore entangle with particles, not just those of other humans with whom we feel an emotional connection, but with nature, especially if we have an emotional connection to nature, then we can form as one mind with nature itself, the mind of God. Our ancestors used to thank the earth, the mother, for the produce, for the animals, and plants, for the water. He used to thank the solar god in the sky for the light and heat. He respected himself because he was part of the whole. Today we disrespect nature and rape her without thanks and without thought. What message are we sending to ourselves? People like Masaru Emoto and the science of quantum physics reveals the mind of God, the mind of the oneness to us all. We can see a consciousness actually at work like never before. All we have to do is join the dots and we see the bigger picture. But what do actual quantum scientists say? James Gardner is a complexity theorist and peer-reviewed scientific writer whose biocosm theory proposes that the appearance of life in the universe is no accident or chance event. Rather, he views life as an expression of a great cosmic intelligence, hardwired into a timeless dynamic cycle of creation, evolution, and renewal. The ultimate purpose of highly evolved life, Gardner argues, is ultimately to infuse the entire universe with intelligence, eventually creating a single, vast, cosmic life form. The universe is intelligent at the subatomic level and acts like a DNA feedback loop. DNA sends out purposeful signals in order to grow. Then it stops and waits for a signal to come back before proceeding. In this way, life is formed in perfect continuity with its surroundings and according to an incredible mathematically complex design. The universe seems to be doing exactly the same thing at the subatomic and quantum level. The universe is a vast vibrating crystal form no different to our own brain. It is linked mathematically and via quantum mechanics to the wave particle of thought. In fact, the evidence is now revealing that every facet of the universe is part of a grand mind. Our problem is that we have divided nature into compartments and no longer see the whole. We have named everything, and in so doing we have reduced them down to constituent parts. We have separated them from one another, and this is not reality, but our own created reality. The truth of the existence of all things will and can only be found in realizing the whole and not the part. As John Chardy said, who could believe an ant in theory, a giraffe in blueprint? 10,000 doctors of what's possible could reason half the jungle out of being. Sir Isaac Newton used a crystal to separate light into the spectrum. He divided the wave and particle stream so that what he saw was the divided parts. He then used another crystal to form them back together again. When all these colors are formed back as one, the result is pure white light. Purity is found in the whole undivided nature. Nature, without the supposed conscious self-awareness of man and his inherent free will, does not name and divide. Instead, it forms balance when left alone. It comes back together in accordance with the natural laws of mathematics inbuilt into all things. By dividing nature, we upset the mathematical purposefulness of it. We divide more than just our own minds. We divide ourselves from it. When a crystal is sliced in half and then placed side by side, the two divided parts form back together again. In perfection. It is the law, and we have forgotten this intuitive process. We are divided by our own free will from the pure white light. But there is a deeper concept here, and one that reminds the mind of the grand architect himself. Quantum physics states that when we observe a particle, we can cause an effect by our own free will. Mathematical equations suggest to us what the majority of particles will do. But every now and then, one or another particle will decide to do something different. This is a kind of chaos theory, as if by naming it we can understand it. The truth is that scientists do not understand the complexity of it all. In the same way, we can mathematically predict what a group of humans will do. But every now and then, one of them will do something different because of its free will and own complexities. How is it that we can say the free will of the human is the explanation for its mathematical conundrum, and yet accuse the particles of chaos? The truth is that the particle is acting according to some kind of free will, and so what has been stated for thousands of years and is now coming into scientific realization is the fact that there is a greater mind at work. That mind is seen in the glorious mathematics derived from the early stages of the Big Bang itself, and so that mind is the mind of the Creator. It is ultimate free will. This is the thread between the cosmos and the quantum world. This is the unifying concept, the connection missed by division between right and left hemispheres. It is mind, awareness, conscious-minded nature at the heart of it all, born from, of, and giving birth to the Big Bang itself. That mind is the universal quantum crystal prism. We can peer into that crystal and see the beautiful colors of the rainbow. But one thing is sure, we will also see ourselves. It is not dark matter, it is the quantum mind of God.